Oh, I'm in.
How'd you do it? Oh, here it goes.
Weird.
Here. I'll just print it.
Okay, whatever's easier for you. Okay. Recording in progress.
Because I personally struggled to get in, I'm just going to give everybody else 2 more minutes. Sarah, were you able to get in?
No, I'm in.
Oh, that was weird, huh?
And Malcolm says he's trying to get in.
Okay. We'll start promptly at 6:04 then. I'm just gonna grab a pencil. Okay, more people in the waiting room. Oh, Malcolm's in too now. All right, I want to welcome everybody to Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. The 6 o'clock meeting. Unfortunately, our agenda does say up top that it's a regular meeting, but in the topic sentence, it does see Mendocino Coast Healthcare District Special Board Meeting. Sarah, would you like to call the order?
Reading,
Here.
Grimberg,
Here.
Duvall, McCauley.
Present.
Does anybody see Norman? Is he muted?
No. I can, if everybody's okay with that, do you mind if I just call him? Because I struggled getting on tonight. It's not a hot link. So I just want to call him to make sure he knows how to cut and paste it. Is anybody opposed to that?
No, we need Norman. I did send him a link just before the meeting, the one from the website that should work.
I'll give him a quick call.
Yeah.
The link he had on the announce list was incorrect, so maybe that's what his confusion.
Yeah, it was.
Amy, Norman.
Hi, Norm. Are you able to get in?
Hello.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Norm. It's Amy. I'm recording and you're on speakerphone. Are you able to get in this evening for our 6 o'clock board meeting?
It says, please wait. The meeting host will let you in soon.
That's awesome.
I'm on the site.
Excellent. Excellent.
Now it's going to connect.
There you are.
Excellent.
Continue. Got it.
I know.
Bye-bye.
We were just taking roll call. Sarah, do you have Norm present?
I do.
And then we're at item 1.2, approval of the agenda. I just wanted to acknowledge that the top heading did say notice and agenda of our regular meeting. However, under topic, it does acknowledge special meeting. And I just wanted to make that note. Is there any other issues with the agenda?
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Sarah, roll call?
McCauley,
Yes.
Grimberg,
Yes.
Reading,
Yes.
Duvall,
Yeah.
and I'm a yes.
Excellent. We're now on to public comments. This portion of the meeting is 3 minutes per public comment, up to 10 minutes.
Amy, I've got my hand up. John Allison here.
This is reserved for non-agenda issues. I hadn't finished speaking, but I'm happy to call your hand as soon as I was done making the announcement. So these are for non-agenda items. You have up to 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes for all public agenda items. And then, yes, Mr. Allison, you can go first.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Amy. My name is John Allison. I live in Westport. My mailing address is P.O. Box 1205 in Fort Bragg. On February 28, I submitted a public records request to the healthcare district seeking records pertaining to these issues, among others: the retention of Jacob Patterson as legal counsel for the district, payment of district funds to Jacob Patterson, communications between Jacob Patterson and any member of the district board, payments of district funds to Sarah Spring or any other board member since December 1 of 2021, and then whether board chair Amy McCauley has moved to principal residence from San Francisco to a principal residence within the boundaries of the healthcare district.
Point of order.
Yes,
Excuse me, isn't this item number 1 on the agenda?
I don't think so, because I think this relates to the
We're discussing public record acts and you just referenced them too. Item number 2 is public request act too.
Thank you for my comment.
well, would you like me to wait then?
It's for non-agenda items.
Okay, well then, I'll skip over the rest of this, and at this point just simply mention that there were issues with respect to payments of district funds to Sarah Spring and Jacob Patterson. And I would ask or invite John Redding as district treasurer to provide any information he may have about payments of district funds to Sarah Spring, Jacob Patterson, and who authorized or directed those payments, perhaps in board comments under item 4.
It's still part of your public records request.
This is a request to John Redding, Ms. Spring, today at the meeting.
I think our point is that your public comment was addressing all our agenda items today. Any other public comments? And I'll scroll down. No other hands up, but I'll wait 30 seconds. With no other hands being raised, we'll move over to the first agenda item tonight. Norm?
Thank you. Following a discussion with the chair to put an agenda together, I had a basic question, which I think is addressed in item number 1, is using different words. Is any attorney, any lawyer representing the Coast Health, the healthcare district, under contract? And if so, contract with whom? And when was that individual hired, by whom? Because without there being a board action, such an employee would be in violation of the bylaws. So in my view, if we do not have an attorney under contract, we don't have an attorney. And I look forward to other comments of board members who may have a differing opinion. I'd rather move forward with this and similar issues rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. And the wheel for this healthcare district has got a flat tire. Our future is to move forward, not try to rewrite the past. Thank you.
Well, I would like to know the name of the attorney as well. and what type of agreement was reached between a member of the board and such local attorney. I think I would have a real problem providing my information to some unknown attorney who's not been vetted and who may have a conflict of interest. As of today, we have not, we do not have a district attorney. To my knowledge, there's no contract. At our last meeting, we decided not to continue our relationship with Jacob Patterson. We decided not to use him any further, and it was agreed by all 5 of us. So I'm thinking if it's him, then that goes against the wishes of the board. If it's not him, I'd like to know who it is and who authorized it.
John, I don't think you understood his question the way I did. He's
Well,
asking in general at all, do we have an attorney? He's not talking about one instance. He's saying at this time, do we have a contract with any legal association?
Yeah, I think I just restated what he asked.
And at our last board of directors meeting in closed session, we had discussion items only with no actions, and there was discussion, which is absolutely correct. I think that we need to go back and look at this objectively and look at the sequence of events that we haven't done. And we don't have the Zoom recordings to review. And I truly do not remember everything, and I missed some meetings. But what I do recall, and I think we all can share what we've recalled and we can process this. June 10th, we terminated BBK for sure. June 10th, I recall that we're moving forward with Jacob Patterson. I'm sharing what I recall, and we don't have those meetings. On June 24th, we have minutes that reflect that we all voted yes for legal counsel, not district manager, but legal counsel. Don't remember at all in July. Fast forward to August, few meetings. August 24th, I do recall that his legal counsel contract was on the agenda. I do recall district manager was on the agenda. I do recall district manager was on the agenda for closed sessions in August too. We have to discuss it. We don't have the Zoom meetings to clear the muddy waters. I do remember a 3-0 vote for not agreeing on a legal counsel agreement for Jacob Patterson in August. I do recall that. I do have his affirmation statement of oath. I do have his 700 form that was signed in July when we did say yes to him in June when we terminated BBK. I did have an understanding that just because he didn't have a signed agreement for payment wages, no one voted him down or took away his oath or rehired or contracted with any other legal. And we do have itemized invoices for July, August, September, occasional November, utilizing Jacob Patterson. And that's what I recall prior to our discussion at our last closed session. That was only discussion, no votes again, where I verbalized understanding of our discussion. And this is what I understand and process, and I hope we all can take the opportunity to try to refresh our memories and have a discussion and not accusations, so we can determine what is going on, where's BBK stand, where does Mr. Jacob Patterson stand, and also discuss hiring a third-party attorney, even if it's an HR attorney, to figure out what happened from June 10th to present time with agreements, non-agreements, and votes. And it would be awesome at some time if we could just watch the Zoom recordings, because we really need to hear the motions of what was voted on. And this is all memory and just recallance and minutes that weren't taken by the secretary. And we'll all have an opportunity to talk, John, and you can definitely precede me. So I'm just sharing with you my recollections. The affirmation of a lawyer, the affirmation piece is the oath of affirmation. I personally feel affirmation is different than agreement, which is different than contract, and following suit and itemized bills and everything else. John, you can go next, and then we'll have Norm, then we'll have Sarah, then we'll have Jessica, and then we'll regroup with our discussion again. Let's try not to be accusatory, pointing blame and fingers, and just looking at this objectively.
I will be objective. My recollection is informed by rereading the minutes that have been approved from previous meetings. We did indeed vote to hire Jacob Patterson. That, however, was subject to a negotiation of a contract, and Sarah Spring and Amy McCauley were given the assignment to negotiate a contract with him. That contract was never presented to the board chair, Jessica Grinberg, at the time for signature. So there is that, your action was not completed. So there is no contract as a result. Also at that meeting, we said that we were not going to terminate BB&K until we had Jacob under contract. So
June, I'm just taking notes. Is this June? I'm just trying to take notes. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to stay objectively.
I'll get those dates for you later. What happened subsequent to that is that Mr. Duvall asked for a reconsideration after learning that Jacob Patterson was a personal lawyer for McCauley Business, and asked for a reconsideration of the vote. At that meeting, it was 2-1. He was voted down as our legal counsel. And to the best of my knowledge, no one used him after that point. And I think the billing, the invoice that he sent us will reflect that until later in December when it started again. That is my understanding based upon the minutes.
Norm, do you want to go or do you want to?
No, question. Does either BB&K or Jakob Peterson contend that they are employed by the healthcare district?
Both do.
And what proof can either show us that they are?
Jacob has his affirmation of oath that he took office as it.
But
And
on what day did the board vote to hire him?
June 10th.
And that
No
was
one followed through with an action to terminate the contract. Even when we voted down, no one contacted him or connected with him, and we have no paperwork but our vote that we terminated anything, just that we don't have a signed agreement with him. But we have this affirmation of vote, and my understanding, and I could be wrong, just because we don't have an assignment agreement doesn't mean that we utilize them, but we have on record that he was counsel, not special counsel, but district counsel. Also on the June, which I think I'm comparing apples and oranges and I need clarity. I thought on June 10th, we hired him strictly for counsel. We regrouped in either late July or early August to see if he could do both dual roles. And that's when I had hesitation come up. Like, I don't know how he could take his lawyer hat out. He'd be too expensive to do both. And at that time, Sarah and I thought were given the task to interview him if he was capable to do both roles, because he was already in the role of local district counsel. June 10th, actually, I think the agenda item literally says local district counsel. Like, we were looking for a local. I don't think you were at that meeting, Norm.
Back in the history, that's a good one, probably so. back in the history, there was a statement made by you and by Jessica Grinberg that Jakob Patterson was a private attorney with two of the board members.
That was August 24th, and not a private attorney, but he does represent indirectly a business that my husband owns. He's a business attorney, but he
You
does
don't
not
see this,
handle
you
any of
don't
my
see this as a
financial
conflict?
matters. I abstained. I abstained, and I don't know if it's a conflict of interest, as I'm not making any money off of him. He's not there to make money for me, or I have no benefit from him, except, and Jessica did acknowledge she utilizes him too, but we abstained once that was brought forward. But I honestly don't know the definition of conflict of interest that it would complement that process. And at that time, I think Sarah and Jessica should talk too, but I want you to know, I do not recall a stipulation on June 10th, the subject to negotiate a contract associated with him, except that we voted yes on that. And I recall the negotiation of contract was the dual role of attorney and district manager together. I do recall on August 24th or 26th that I abstained, Jessica abstained, and it was not a 2-to-1 vote, but actually a 3-0 not to agree on Jacob's legal counsel agreement. I think that is accurate, but not 2-to-1, John. Actually, Sarah voted no for that specific. It was, the word wasn't contract. It was, the wording was agreement. But I don't see any stipulation on June 10th.
Well, it's in the meeting minutes. I mean, it's
We
clear.
don't have June 10th meeting minutes.
Yes, well, we have the meeting minutes where it is said that he was hired pending you negotiating a contract.
That's in the,
And
that's not,
well, go look.
well, that's August, those are in the August minutes, John, and that is actually under him as district, I'm using the wrong word, district manager, not as legal. But let's each talk about what we remember, what we recall. I'm happy to bring up the minutes and share them and have a further discussion. Sarah, would you like to chime in at all and do some structured, I'm just taking everybody's notes.
Yes. So I have a question. Norm, why did you request a revote? I don't remember it being about Amy and Jacob's relationship.
I'm a no vote. And
I know, but I need to clarify.
The first time it was voted on, I was tired or late or whatever, but I voted yes. I then asked for reconsideration and the board rejected it. And then I challenged the vote and brought up the issue again when the minutes were to be approved. And it was recast and I voted no.
Did you ask for that because of the conflict with Amy? That's what I'm seeking clarity for.
I am not impressed with Mr. Patterson's abilities. And
so it had nothing to do with Amy.
I sense there's a cloud there, and I prefer to stay away from clouds over government officials. And anything that casts an aspersion in any light at all should be questioned. It's not a good choice. There are 3 things that make up a contract, and if there's been a contract signed, let's see it. Where is it? But a contract is also for a period of time. What service or product is to be produced, when it's going to be produced, the compensation that is going to be covered, and for what period of time. If Jakob Patterson got a contract from us for what, a month? Fine, it's over.
Okay, then the other thing I would like to point out is that my recollection of Amy and my being asked to meet with Jacob was not about his contract. It was about whether he could do both roles for us, district manager and attorney. We were to discuss with him how that would work, and could he take his lawyer hat off while he was doing district manager, how he thought that that would work. We were discussing the practicality of doing both roles. We were never given anything to discuss a contract with him. We had nothing at all in documentation to go over with him. I would also like to point out, in my opinion, any and all minutes that were produced without me charging them to be done are null and void, because I, as secretary, am the only one that can do minutes. I never gave anybody else permission to do the minutes.
You also didn't do them yourself. That's why other people had to do them.
John, I was never given the Zooms to do them, and it doesn't matter that you're saying that I didn't do them. I did not appoint anybody else to do them, and that doesn't matter. I'm the one that can do them. Unless I appoint somebody else, that's it. That's what's in our bylaws.
Well,
And you can say it all you want, but that's not facts.
well, we can't be in violation of the law because you wouldn't do them, so we had to do them.
There is no law that says when the minutes have to be posted, John. I've already gotten that from 2 legal counsels.
And I also do see refreshing our memory, my memory, and I'm being really honest. I do not remember much of August, and I don't know why. But August 12th, it does say legal counsel contract. These are minutes. I don't know who took them. And it has to be shared with somebody because it was in closed session. But it says legal counsel's contract up for, depending on Sarah and Amy. But I really recall verbally talking about not having confidence that he could wear 2 hats. Yeah, the direction is the legal agreement, negotiation of contract to be done by Macaulay in spring as indicated in closed session report. That's, I think we were discussing him doing dual roles at that time, actually. And then on the 24th with the dual roles, it would be really, really, really helpful if we could figure out what happened on June 10th to August 24th for clarity. And then clarity, he did take oath. Norm wants clarity. Okay, we hired him. Where's the contracted for that 1 hour? We utilized him all of June, July, and August. It stopped. He's under the impression we're utilizing BPK for guidance of Jacob. They actually have a conflict because he could be a competitor, and or we did terminate. There is no documentation anywhere in any minutes that says terminating BBK pending negotiation of local legal counsel. So
This so reminds me of our process, which I think was totally appropriate when Terry Gross presented her resume and was in front of all of us for conversation. It's how we drifted so far apart from that.
I don't know. I don't know. Jessica?
So this is where I am. I'm hearing a lot of, I remember, I don't remember, this is what I think in this conversation. The only thing I have to add to that debate is that I have not seen a declaration of oath. I'm not sure with what witness that was done with Jacob Patterson. But this is what my feeling is. We had a closed session. I know that you are referencing that as a discussion and not an action. In that discussion, I'm bringing it now forward to public. We're all here, so it's not a breach of any kind of confidentiality. I'm bringing it forward to public that in that discussion, we decided that pending the hiring of another law firm, we would remain the clients of BBK. We are still in contract with them. And so until we decide on another law firm, they would be our general counsel. The other thing we decided in that closed session was that we would no longer be using Jacob Patterson for any services. Now, we did request, several of us requested that happen in open, and it was decided based on the recommendation of Mr. Patterson in helping draft the agenda that it should be in closed. So we went through with that process. We decided as a group, majority discussion, that we would not use Jacob. Now, the relevance is that we do have a contract with BPK still active. We do not have any form of contract with Jacob. So regardless of anything that happened prior to that meeting, it doesn't matter because now we're bringing this forward into open session. I think we should take an actual action vote on whether or not we're going to be using him. But the point is the direction to the chair and the acknowledgement from the chair at that time was, okay, so I have the direction, this board is not going to use Jacob. Because we were not in contract with Jacob, we had no requirement to give him any kind of notice of termination of his use. We have nothing to terminate, there's no contract. At that point, I agreed that during the time that we were believing that he was our attorney, which is the time between the original vote and the time that we took the second vote, he did work. He should be duly paid. He deserves to be paid for work that was done. But anything that happened after the last board meeting in which we clearly decided by majority to no longer use his services, to me is the point that is relevant. We can go back and we can look at minutes and we can look at recordings and we can debate this, whether or not he was our attorney or wasn't our attorney. Let's just say he was our attorney into that day. Majority of the board advanced the opinion we are not using him. We have no contract, we're no obligation to give him notice of no longer using him. And I think now, because of the controversy that has been brought up, we need to formalize that in a vote in public that we will not be using Jacob Patterson for legal services. I think when the chair indicated, okay, now I understand, I have clear direction, now I know not to be using Jacob. I don't think that that represented uniquely only the chair not using Jacob, because chair, as the one who determines connection with the legal counsel, that meant no board members would be using Jacob Patterson. So we have no notice to him into terminating a contract. We don't have a contract. It's as a courtesy, we can say, hey, you know what, we decided we're actually not going to be using, we're going to actually look to have a contract with the council. That would be a courtesy. I think that should happen. But to go through an extended debate of who remembers what and minutes and what and Zoom and everything we're discussing really came to a head and an end point at the closed session in our last meeting. I think we should now vote in public whether or not he's going to be used in any capacity, general or special or otherwise, as our counsel. And I think we can clean this up right now. And as far as recordings and minutes, that really is a relationship we need to address with Mr. Patterson. He needs to be treated respectfully. He needs to be acknowledged for the work that he did. He needs to be properly compensated for what he did while he was under the impression he was our attorney, is my opinion. It's only right. But truly, that's where we part ways. The last closed session, when we clearly had direction, is honestly where I think we parted ways. And I think what happened before that point, if we're going to be up for debate, that's something that it has to do with our relationship with Jacob. That doesn't have to do with what's here and now. So I would like to, at some point, after all these discussions, to move forward and have someone present a motion. And I'm not pushing it now, but I think someone should present a motion regarding yes or no, we're going to be using Jacob Patterson in any capacity to represent this district. That's where I am. By the way, I just have to make one more comment. I have both emails and text messages from the secretary of the board requesting that I cover her and both post agendas, create agendas, sign off on agendas, and create minutes. So I do have those communications.
Amy, can I speak to that, please?
Why don't you address all the comments that she's referencing?
So, Jessica, please forward me those texts, because I recall that I've asked you numerous times for the Zoom recordings. I was never given them. I was emailed one that I could not open because it was in a type of file that would not open on my system. I was never given login to Zoom. I have spoke to you about this numerous times. I sent you an email in December requesting any and all Zooms that were under my charge as secretary. I have yet to get those. I believe agendas are a lot different than minutes. You had agreed when you asked me to be secretary that you would do the minutes up until August. You said you wanted to do both roles. So you changed your mind, and then I never got the Zooms to do them. For some reason, those Zooms were given to John and not me. I do not feel like, one, you have the authority to do that because according to the bylaws, I'm the one that can do that. Two, I still do not understand why I have not been provided the Zooms. And then lastly, I tried to use BBK. They did not respond to me. I had a certain timeline that I had to get a response back. So yes, I did use Jacob, but I did not want to not fulfill the timeline obligation.
I would just like to acknowledge, Amy, thank you, Sarah, for acknowledging that through August, I was given permission to do the minutes on your behalf. I appreciate that. So thank you for doing that.
You were, but not John.
Okay, so I want to give everybody a timeline and discussion and frustration. But Sarah, the minutes, it's frustrating, and clearly they don't see, we have to agree to disagree, because I think objectively, and what happened on June 10th, and I'm confident we reported out that we terminated BBK. I did not know that if they were not contacted. John, we can agree to disagree. We're in the here and now. I contacted BBK as soon as I received a public request act. I actually contacted them. I think I put Sarah on, I CC'd Sarah on it. We initiated it. It was forwarded to a gentleman named Abe. Abe gave me an invite with a meeting. I engaged in the meeting. Sarah wasn't attended. I forwarded. By that time, Sarah has a sense of urgency and uses local legal counsel to get a boilerplate response to the appropriate person for the PRA. At that time, I call Abe actually with Sarah, a dual discussion, like, hey, Abe, error of omission, Sarah went another route. By that time, we had a second PRA that was actually addressed to Jessica. So I'm like, please work on this one with Jessica and let Sarah initiate the one she initiated with local legal counsel. Sarah is under the impression that she could reach out to any legal counsel, and we need to clarify that as board members too. And I'm happy to help you raise your hand, but there is this timeline, there is a disconnect, and Sarah was not involved in the PRA, and Sarah did contact someone to get a professional boilerplate written in support with.
Is it out of place to ask, a motion appropriate at this time that simply states that Jakob Patterson is not under contract to the healthcare district at this time?
As long as everybody has felt they've been heard and all discussions have been completed around this topic.
Well, I'm willing to make a motion to memorialize what was discussed in closed session at the previous meeting, and that motion being that currently we will not be using Jacob Patterson for legal services, both special or general counsel, and we will continue to use BBK until we are able to replace them with another law firm.
Second that.
All right, further discussion, Sarah?
I would personally rather not have attorney than have BBK.
John? Oh, you're on mute, John.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All 5 board members received an email from BB&K saying that you had suspended their services after they had already worked on the Public Records Act. Why? And then furthermore, that the local attorney would be handling both Public Record Acts requests. And I just want to know why you suspended their work.
Amy, I'd like to not put you on the target here.
No, it's
Can we
fine. I
not
did.
put blame on any? Can we just not do this, Amy, please? I don't want to blame you.
Oh, no. I appreciate that. And Jessica worked with me with clarity, and I feel like I'm just going to repeat myself right now. Sarah and I contacted Abe. Sarah already contacted local counsel for support. I said, stop doing that. I didn't want to do dual lawyers. Please continue the second one, which was involved in Jessica. I don't think it's pointing blame. I'm happy to be held accountable for that decision, but I did not suspend them completely or thoroughly. So I feel like you misquoted it because it's outlined that it was for the first one. And
That is what the email said.
Oh, we could share the email. It could be, but no, it literally outlines we are still working on the Zoom request. It does say that. And Jessica is currently working with that one, and it was never suspended. So 50-50 facts. But we have 3. 2 were going to local. 1 was staying with BBK. And today we have a motion on the table. Norm, do you have any more discussion items? And thank you, Jessica, for the support.
I think the discussion should be to the motion.
I
No,
appreciate that.
call for the question.
I'm ready.
Point of order. You need to involve the public since this is an action item.
You're right. You're right.
Sorry, we were so passionate, and I see your hand up, Malcolm.
May I continue?
Public comment, Malcolm?
On this, yes. I completely support the motion that Jessica made, and I think that's a good solution, a good way out. I think what she said earlier is also, what led to the motion. I think that's the way to go. There's less blame. I'm wondering if this may be a further motion, but I'm wondering, I think what Jessica was saying was to pay, so I want clarification, is to make sure that Mr. Patterson was definitely paid for any work he did in that June through August period up to the August 26th meeting when the approval of his contract was voted down by 2-1 vote. That was on August 26th. I'm a little dismayed by board members who can't recall exact dates and things like that. There are things that happened here that I wasn't even present for, and I know the correct order of things when some board members don't. I'm a little dismayed that after you got hearing that you guys had a closed session to the effect that has been described by various board members at the February 24th meeting this year, that a board member would choose for whatever reasons to employ Mr. Patterson after that. That I find dismaying, but let's let that go. So I think there's some people here that need to, on the board, need to pay much more attention to the facts as they happened. And I'll just leave it at that. And I support Jessica's motion. I would like to know if it's limited to just paying him for the June, July, and August time period, or if Jessica is saying, I'm not opposed either way, to whatever is the best way to solve it, that he should also be paid for the work he did up to the February closed session. So could that be clarified, Jessica? Thank you.
I could clarify it if Jessica would permit me.
Sure, go ahead, John.
Jacob was paid for services until, I would say, the beginning or end of February. He received, I won't disclose the amount, but it was a significant amount of money that covered the entire period. It was also not voted on by the board. It was authorized by the chair without consulting the board and without consulting me as the treasurer. I have the evidence.
Okay, this is an inaccurate statement. His billing for February and I think January has not been pushed through since we've had our discussions, but only bills that have been paid is till January, like December. I have not paid any January or February bills, and I pushed forward what was paid when the utilization of another chair.
I'd like to not get off subject of recognizing who our council currently is. And I feel like we can have this when we're discussing payments in the future. This is not an agenda item. Please, let's not go down this road. I'd like to stay very much on point, which is let's just establish who our attorneys are at this point, please.
I have a public comment on this. May I go ahead?
Please do.
John Ellis, okay, thank you. I support the motion. I think it's a good one. I just like to point out just in terms of background, Section 12, Article 2 of the bylaws provides that an attorney shall be retained by the board to act as general counsel. Only the board as a whole can retain general counsel or special counsel. And subparagraph C provides that general counsel represents the district. General counsel shall not represent individual directors unless authorized in writing by the board. And so I do have a question about whether that ever happened, because it sounds like Mr. Patterson was doing some work for at least Amy as a board member. The other thing I'd like to point out is that the provisions of Business and Professions Code, section 6148, dealing with fee agreements with lawyers, provides, with exceptions that do not apply here, that any compensation or any agreement to hire a lawyer needs to be in writing. It sounds to me like there was no contract, never came to fruition. And when that happens, the lawyer is entitled to a reasonable fee for the work he did. Just for what it's worth, it sounds to me like that would be for work he did from June 10 until the meeting in August, when it sounds to me like a decision was made to no longer use him. I have a difficult time as a taxpayer and a property owner in the district to understand why he would be paid for work from August until February. Thank you.
Amy, can I make a comment, please? I feel like we can address the concerns of both of our community members at a future time. If we can make that an agenda item, payment for various services to the district, however you want to phrase it, but I really would like to stay on point and get to the vote of who our council is. And I want to be respectful of the community members. We're spending their tax money. And I would like to have that happen in the future, but I really feel like if we should call for this vote and clean up very clearly with an action item and open exactly who we expect our representation is at this time.
Call for the question.
Jessica, can you restate your motion? Because I believe that you altered it after you first made it.
What is your memory of it?
I didn't write it down because I was going to ask you to clarify after John asked you to amend it.
I don't know the amendment.
I didn't ask for an amendment. I just seconded it.
So it is that we will no longer use any services, be it general or special counsel from Jacob Patterson. And we will continue to use BBK and maintain their contract until we are able to find alternative counsel to represent the district.
Does the seconder concur?
John seconded it, but I thought he'd asked to change it.
No, that's the motion as I recall, and I'll second it again.
Duvall,
Yes.
Redding,
Yes.
Grimberg,
Yes,
McCully,
you're muted, Amy.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Well, the motion contains some overlap into item number 2 on the agenda. And I understand from the motion that the BB&K is our legal counsel at this time.
I apologize, Norm. Would you repeat?
Well, I'm looking at item number 2 on the agenda.
So the assignment of counsel to assist the district with PRA responses. I think we're vulnerable if we use BBK as the counsel. As we recall, I think we're vulnerable, and I think we should find a third person to do it that's non-biased at this time, as no one wants to acknowledge or not. But if we really did vote out that BBK, that we terminated them in June, and we're still continuing with them because we didn't follow through, and then we're asking them to do our Public Records Acts, I'm just feeling we may be vulnerable in that we should just get somebody who's not involved at all with all these discussions. And it's up for discussion.
I would like to move that we use BBK to handle the Public Records Act requests.
I'll second the motion. If you're up for discussion, I can start with my opinion about it. I've had, as Amy and I have been working with BBK on a couple of these issues, I have found that they've been responsive, they've been timely, they've been tracking accurately the deadlines for the requests. They've been providing portals to upload information. I feel that they have not in any way demonstrated a resentment based on an interest that we have potentially to move to different counsel. I think they're behaving quite professionally, and I'm not concerned that there's any type of conflict. That's been my impression through this process, and I'm working with them, on several issues right now. So I felt in our discussions, Amy, I felt that they were quite professional and attentive and responsive.
Is there did that motion get a second?
Jessica and John did, yes.
Good. No, I have no comment.
I just would I disagree. I find them extremely expensive. The last one that had no records cost us $3,000. I feel that they weighed in on this discussion, and it was a competitive discussion between who is our counsel. They didn't acknowledge if they may or may not have a conflict of interest. And I think it may be in our best interest, A, to look for another attorney, and B, have someone who is non-biased just look at all our emails. That's my opinion. I think we need an HR lawyer. And I wish we had staff, because staff could help us navigate some of this and help us weed through our emails. Sarah, do you have any comments? And then John.
I would agree with Amy. I find them quite rude and condescending and extremely expensive. And quite frankly, they lie. I asked Abe why he didn't reach out to me. He said he sent me an email. And I said, I never got anything from you. And And he told me that's not true. You sent it to me. And I went back through my email, and then he looked at his email and realized that he did not include me. So, and then when I asked him a question about seeing stuff, he said I wasn't entitled to see the Zoom meetings because they might have to redact stuff. I don't understand how any one of us on the board would not be allowed to see a Zoom of a meeting we were in. So quite frankly, I would rather find somebody else to help us.
Well, I find them to be entirely professional and sometimes frustratingly so. They have always maintained, I thought, a balance and objectivity. We've used them in the past and we've had no difficulties with them. I think I like the fact that they resist efforts by individual board members to interfere with the process. And that's what we need, is a lawyer who is not biased and won't let us interfere with it. So anyway, I made the motion, so I'm obviously going to support it.
Is it time to call for the vote? Or it seems like we have differences of opinion. Oh, it looks like somebody wants to make a comment.
Yes, public comment. Thank you. John Allison again. I support the motion. I think it's a good one. My personal experience with BB&K was excellent in the context of 2 earlier public records requests I submitted. I thought they were thorough, professional, balanced, and they're independent. And I think that particularly given the nature of my public records request, which affects in particular 2 of the board members potentially, or directly in terms of their records, I think it's important to have somebody who is independent, who is going to make decisions about what's exempt, what needs to be redacted, and so forth, independent of any influence by individual board members. And I also think it's good that they have a portal so that board members can send responsive documents directly to BB&K, and there's no question about the integrity of what gets sent and what gets received. So I am in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Well, I was wondering if, because Abe has been difficult to work with for Sarah, that we could still stay with BBK, but maybe source a different person to work on it with. Maybe that is a compromise.
I don't see why it's an issue
Yeah.
anymore. We're all going to be providing our information directly to BB&K. There should be no interaction.
Okay.
I think it's reasonable to voice concerns regarding, they have many attorneys and assistants on staff. And certainly if somebody on the board is not comfortable with a certain interaction, I think it's within that individual's right. We're using a law firm. We're not naming a specific individual. So my opinion is sharing concerns and using a different person of the same tier. We're not going to overpay and use an attorney for paralegal work. So as long as it's the same level of cost, I'm comfortable with being honest with them about how we feel.
Okay. I think that's fair. Okay, great.
Malcolm has a hand up as well.
I just saw it pop up. So Malcolm.
Thank you. Yes, I support the motion, the second, the idea behind it, and definitely support what Jessica just said to kind of support Sarah's position. Otherwise, we're going to get into more quibbles about, who was used after February 24th and things of that sort, which I will, dispense with at this time. So it's a good motion. Let's go for it. Thank you.
Any other board comments before Sarah calls for the vote?
Yeah, just a question, a process. Will BB&K now reach out to us as a whole individually and give us instructions on how to provide the information?
I'm gonna have to reach out to them tomorrow and then we'll wait for their next steps.
And okay,
Is that, Amy, is to clarify, isn't that if this motion passes?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Sarah, for clarifying.
Mhm.
Norman, did you have any comments? I
No.
know you said before you had none. I just want to make sure you haven't changed your mind or wanted to make another comment.
Thank you, no.
Sarah, would you like to call for the vote?
Duvall,
Yes.
Grimberg,
Yes.
Redding,
yes,
McCauley,
No.
and I'm a no.
All right, we're gonna go down to the next agenda.
Item number 3 on the agenda, clarification of accuracy of approval of approved minutes. Were the minutes accurate that we voted on and approved? Is there question about any of the of any content of any minutes that it might not be accurate? Now, I've put that on this agenda only because of some comment I've received that questions the validity of the content of the minutes. I don't have anything more specific.
Amy, can I speak to that?
You're more than welcome to.
So Norm, as I spoke earlier in the meeting, I feel that I am the one that should have clarified minutes. I do agree that there was a time being that Jessica and I had an agreement that she would do them, but I feel like that agreement was between Jessica and I. That was not for her to appoint John or anybody else to do the minutes. And I feel like as secretary, I do not feel comfortable saying that the minutes are valid when I feel that my recollection is different than what is in the minutes. And I will still stand by that. I do not understand what is wrong with me reviewing the accuracy. We all agreed that that's what we would do. And I would be responsible for that. And I've yet been given the opportunity to do so.
So this is again, a request that you have access to the Zoom meetings.
Correct. I believe that there's been numerous items that, you know, I don't want to get into the dredges about, of where either members of the public or members of the board have a different recollection of what happened in a meeting than what is in the minutes, whether they've been approved or not. And I believe that we had an agreement that I would go back through the minutes to do an action item list to bring everything forward, and then also clarify if they were accurate.
Can that be done without the Zoom recordings?
How would that happen, Norm? I can't. No,
Okay. So do the Zoom recordings still exist?
I'm not aware. I don't know why they would be deleted. They're public records. I don't think it's appropriate to delete them if they were deleted, and especially if they were deleted after I sent a request for them in December.
Can I ask, Madam Chair, may I ask the other board members if they know the whereabouts of the existence of these Zoom recordings?
Yes, please.
Where are they? Who has them?
Jessica?
So that is a subject of the public record request, Norman. Part of the time we had, although brief, we did have someone working in the office. That was Michelle. And she's the one who generated minutes. And I believe the recordings could be on the office computer because she generated the meetings as well. She was, she's the one who put out the Zoom. A part of the record request, which I'm not going to discuss here because this has to be vetted by the attorneys, of course, but I'm doing my best to retrieve recordings that at some point, once the minutes were produced and a 30-day required hold on the meeting that produced those minutes, that's the only requirement legally that existed. So after minutes were approved by the board, there was no longer an obligation to keep the recording. I'm trying to reconstruct old meetings by going onto various, the computer hard drive. And I think that's all I really am comfortable saying. But legal standing is once meeting minutes are produced and brought forward and voted on by the board, there's no legal requirement to keep Zoom recordings. And I really feel like that's all I should say at this point, given that we have 2 outstanding PRA that will produce information and documentation and responses to this effect.
Right.
But I hope I answered some of your questions, Norman. I'm not trying to avoid your question.
Yes, you did, and thank you. I don't have any further comment for item 3.
It's not a big comment. It's pretty well known that the time to raise objections to meeting minutes is when at the board meeting when they come up on the agenda. And if you approve of the meeting minutes, I'm not comfortable going back and revising them unless there is some significant reason to do so. The meeting minutes that I prepared, I volunteered to prepare, was in November. That's never come up on the agenda. So if anyone has a problem with those, let's put it on the agenda and discuss it. That seems like a reasonable thing to do.
I think that it's unfortunate. I think the conversation could have went differently, not objectively, but it's unfortunate that we weren't able to review the motions that took place in June, July, or August and be prepared for this meeting. I'm acknowledging the majority of my constituents and moving on, but I don't personally feel that I was prepared. And I do feel the minutes, and I shared that with you, don't recall my recollection of the conversation at all. And I feel that the district manager discussion and the legal counsel discussion were not integrated and that they were separate. But I think it's a moot point. I think we voted and we don't have to go on this further discussion. I'm looking forward to a retention policy for the board of directors moving forward and in acknowledgement of the Zoom. If we didn't have Zoom, were we going to be taking more active minutes? We would have recordings. We need to get our secretary access to that stuff so she can do it in a timely manner. So we can have more confident conversation, accuracy, and follow it up at the next meeting. Yes, John.
Norma, maybe this is a subject of a board policy, maybe not, but it seems to me that we're overly reliant on the Zoom recordings for meeting minutes. It seems to me that there should be handwritten minutes taken during the course of the meeting, and that would be a primary source of the minutes. And then the Zoom recordings could be used when a recollection, or when the person taking notes didn't remember it exactly right. But we should have both a written and an electronic copy of those meeting minutes. It just makes sense to have a backup.
The clerk of the Board of Supervisors works that way.
I think we need to acknowledge that, sorry, Norm, we don't have staff right now. And I'm hoping that this will be resolved with staff because we could delegate the staff to take the written minutes.
I have a comment to make about staff when we get to item 4.
Well, I mean, in the interim, any one of us could volunteer to do it, including myself.
I think it falls under the secretary right now, but Norm and I are working on the bylaws and working on policy procedures and retention of records, which may help resolve some of this unsolicited stress to all of us too.
Okay.
So I would like to speak to John's comment about minutes being approved. I clearly remember that there was a meeting that I requested for 4 sets of minutes to be pulled from the agenda because I was not the one to do them and that I did not believe they were accurate. So those 4 meetings, those minutes have never been approved.
You're right.
Nope.
So I don't understand why I cannot be provided those Zooms by whoever has them. I've been asking for them in public for quite a while. And I have always maintained that I do not understand why John got them and I did not.
How can this be resolved, Amy?
I wish that we could have some resolve. We don't have a policy, a retention policy that says 30 days. BBK offered that one to us. I think that I'd have to go into the government code to understand about the Zooms in the 30 days, but we should not be destroying or not have Zooms unavailable to us that we don't have typed minutes for yet. I do acknowledge that there may have been numerous computers used to do the Zoom, but we have a list of Zoom recruitings and a list of Zoom meetings on the dates they were held and how long they were in our Zoom account. And it also shows us in Zoom what PCC it was used on and or if it was in the cloud. So for detective work, we can figure out what meetings need to be done, what computers they were on, and then Jessica can help produce them. But we definitely have lost minutes and we don't have a retention policy that says a 30 days one. That is something that BBK has recommended for us, but we really should get these minutes just to be honest, to get them up on the website. It's not going to change any of the motions we had tonight. And Jessica's acknowledging she's working on it. Moving forward, we should put it in our bylaws.
I'd like to say that in the interim, it's not an unsolvable problem to have somebody take written notes. In fact, I remember at a previous meeting, a member of the public volunteered to do it.
Right. And Noelle was at that meeting and she said we can't because she's not an employee, but it's our secretary's job to take written notes and or type in notes or rely heavily on the Zoom. And if we want to outline that job description as secretary to be more specific, that there's archived handwritten notes in addition to recordings moving forward, we're going to have to put it in a policy.
For over a year,
with a sunset of 30 days too.
For over a year, I've been talking about action minutes. And by the end of the meeting, you've got a list of each motion and the vote. It's, action minutes document action, not as they're fairly light on discussion. But you're right, it should there should be some mention of this in the bylaws. Moving on to number 4.
Excuse me, point of order. This is an action item. You need to, whether you take action or not, you need to take public input.
Malcolm, is your hand up?
Yes,
Here
it
you go.
is.
I'm lowering it. Go ahead, Malcolm.
So I need to correct something. It was the November meeting of 2021 in which there were 4 separate sets of minutes on the agenda. The December 2020 minutes were pulled. I remember that because I sent a text to one board member saying that they didn't need to be up there because they were already dealt with. The April 29th minutes of 2021 were pulled because Sarah remembered it because it was her birthday and she remembered some things that were faulty in those minutes, including her attendance. Those two were pulled. However, I've recently looked at the Zoom recording of that meeting, which exists right on the website. I've listened to it and watched it multiple times. And after those 2 sets of minutes were pulled, there was a vote in which 3 board members voted to approve the other 2 sets of minutes. So those other 2, not December of 2020 and not April of 2021, were legitimately voted on and passed. There were objections by other board members, but 3 board members voted to approve them. You can all go back and look again. Maybe you should. I want to say something because I so often am critiquing and questioning John Redding. John and I had 2 very good conversations last week. I can't really divulge what was in them for various reasons, but they were very substantive and amiable and all of the above. So I think the public should know that. I may not vote for him still, but I think the public needs to know that we can get along and try to solve significant issues. And that leads me to the what was said about producing the Zoom recordings. I think it's great that that's being worked on. And I realize that it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I'm like John Allison, I've filed a Public Records Act request, or 2 of them, and one of them involves Zoom recordings. But I think even the wording in my my public records request might predicate not releasing it, to anybody until things are completely satisfied to the attorneys and the board's satisfaction. So I can see how it's frustrating, but I think what was said about that is correct. And hopefully they will get what I requested for the public to know is the Zoom recordings of all the meetings from January through July 9th. There was no late July meeting. And that's it. Thanks.
There's a hand up.
Where?
Well, it's gone now, but Linda W. had her hand
It's
up.
me. I just unclicked it. I just have a quick comment, and I may be on the wrong page. I was trying to find a copy of the bylaws. The bylaws that I found on the website only are 4 pages. And in regards to the meetings, the books and records, it says, and it's a quick 1-line paragraph that says the agency board shall keep minutes of all the proceedings and such other books and records as may be required for the proper conduct of its business and affairs. It does not specifically state the secretary has to take the minutes or record the minutes. So I'm just throwing that out there because I've only attended a couple of these meetings. And if somebody could send me a copy of the bylaws, I'd appreciate it. But this is all I could find online.
May I comment, Amy?
Please do.
Oh,
Sorry.
at our last meeting, I asked for support in looking for and employing some secretarial clerical help to go through the bylaws. that request was approved, and with the help of Mary Kate at the foundation, I've been introduced to Jessica Cook. And we've worked together for some hours and have made tremendous progress. And you'll have a draft of the rewrite of the bylaws for the Thursday meeting at the end of this month. What's interesting, and the last caller found a 4-page set of bylaws that are not ours. There have been, with the help of John Redding in the last couple of days, I found that there were 4 different sets of bylaws. And part of the confusion is they've been worked on and then set aside. Somebody else picks it up and starts working on yet another old set, and that gets set aside as well. So this has been a straight-on effort to pull all of those bylaws together and be able to get them in front of the board so the board can make decisions on up or down on the recommended changes. As long as if I can continue to have the floor for a couple of minutes, I want to give you some of the events and activities I've been involved in the last month. Got a call from you, Amy, to call Judy Leach at the hospital, the director of the hospital, who implored me to please now remove all of the extra surplus furniture and fittings that are not desired by Adventist Health to take them anywhere, but get them off the property. They were anxious, knowing that there would soon be an unannounced state inspection, and for the hospital to cover and store unused, unwanted equipment and fittings would be threatening to the well-being of the hospital. So I've taken several hundred feet of space at Pelican Storage at $720 or so a month to store these products. And I find also at Coast Storage, we have probably close to 1,000 square feet of surplus equipment, furniture. We need a huge garage sale somehow, somewhere. Peterson Power has the transfer switch for the generator set in the hospital. The hospital is keeping the existing diesel engines to run the gen sets, but the transfer switch sits on a trailer, on a 36-foot trailer that is outside the building. And the discussion with Peterson Power yesterday, they're going to send a proposal, an offer to make it roadworthy and try to find the best use for it or the best price for it. It is under discussion. The parking signs have been removed and taken to the sign shop in Casper to show that that's parking by the A.J. Gray building for the healthcare district and not the foundation. The policy manual is mentioned in the bylaws several times, and it, like the bylaws, need a major go-through and much longer, probably 75 to 100 pages. Once the bylaws are completed, we'll take on the policy manual. So that's just about it. I want to introduce you again to Jessica Cook. She has been just wonderful to work with, and the ease of employ is working with Mary Kate at the foundation, who will, in essence, list Ms. Cook as an employee, and the district will reimburse the foundation for that cost. So there's the update for my efforts. We have a full set of keys now, and starting to try to get all of our paperwork together and putting it in banker boxes by decade. The papers are in chaos. but we've got enough room and enough space now to try to pull the papers together so that items can be found. And hopefully all of this resume will be helpful. Boxes and boxes of stuff. That's it. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, thank you, Amy. If you enable the chat, I can give a proper link to the 11 pages of bylaws up on the website.
I don't have it the same, and
That's interesting. I've got 13 pages, John.
Yeah, 13, thank you.
Okay, good. Oh, geez.
I don't.
Well, yeah, anyway.
It is the final set.
It is the most recently approved on November of 2020, I think.
Yeah. And I appreciate your efforts in the outlining and formatting.
You're welcome.
John, I have to go into Zoom completely. Can you privately send someone a text message? I didn't do.
I can't hear, but Linda, if you want to contact me offline, I can make sure you get the proper document.
And at our meeting, our regular meeting, the board will have additions and edits to the bylaws.
John, do you have an email address real quick?
Yeah, it's, what is it? jredding@mcdh.org.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
John, any other comments? Norm moved over to item 4.
Yeah, I did, yes. But here, I'll share this one with you. Ted Williams has just emailed. Board of Supervisors has videos archived. Videos are good for context to motions, which long after can seem vague. Why delete videos ever? Ted.
What we need in order to keep every Zoom recording is to buy more storage. That's been the limitation. So who's ever in charge should do that. Sorry.
I think it's you and actually Sarah have been in charge to negotiate a wage with Streamline, where Streamline would allow us to upload the minutes in the videos immediately. And I think that we approved to move forward with that. So I'm looking,
You're right.
I'm looking forward to an update with Streamline at our scheduled meeting, but they even showed us how to drop the Zoom meetings in and help things get streamlined.
No, thank you. I've forgotten. Very good.
Sarah, any board comments? Sarah, you're on mute.
I guess with the deletion of records, I guess I'm still confused of if I'm the keeper of records of the district, why would records be destroyed without discussing with me or the entire board the need to get rid of them? Because I would probably take the stance that if we don't keep them in Zoom, we need to move them somewhere else so that we could keep them in perpetuity for if people want to go back and watch them. But I look forward to being able to do the downstream and move on.
Jessica, do you have any comments?
My comment is just a appreciation for the board members of doing the special meeting tonight, just to clear this up as we move forward in responding to the PRA submissions to the board. I really appreciate that everyone came together so quickly And we were able to have clear direction on this matter so we could meet our deadlines. So thank you to everybody for agreeing to have the meeting tonight.
Thank you.
So I just want to share that it's my resolve to break through this noise and the distractions that we have and to start creating some board policy in place and help plan the future of the healthcare district like we were elected to do. So hopefully these are some minus speed bumps that I just look forward to more productive meetings with structure in place, maybe streamline for our Zoom uploads. Norm, it'd be awesome to get our bylaws and our policies and procedures together. And I just appreciate the community when we, there's a lot of distraction and noise and we're trying to resolve it.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you.
You'll have a draft of the bylaws, so before the agenda comes out for our regular meeting. As soon as we're in more or less the final round right now and it's ready for presentation. But I think I need the mailing address of the members of the board. Or I'm not sure. Jessica Cook can work this one out for me. How to?
Norman,
Yes.
our contact information is on our website.
For each of us.
Norman,
Yes.
Norman, what I can do, I can make a distribution list called board members, and all you'll have to type in is like whatever I name the list, and it auto-populates to everybody. And between you and Jessica Cook, I can help you get a distribution list so it's one-stop shopping.
Very good.
I can create it for all of us.
Thank you. And also for the regular meeting, we'll have a resume of Ms. Cook. Thank you. I'm done. Dinner time.
All right, we'll adjourn at 7:34. Thank you.
Bye-bye.